let me make sure we actually do go live because sometimes it's like a hit or miss.
It just said the stream is live.
Okay, perfect.
It's good.
Hello, everybody. I don't have a book to hold up yet. I don't have my physical copy yet, but I'm here to discuss with the author. There's something sinister in center field, which I love the title, by the way.
Thank you.
And if you don't mind, giving like a little spiel about your books, because I hate doing it myself with the author right here.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm Robert P Ottone. I'm the Bram Stoker Award-winning author of The Triangle. That's actually it right there. There's my Stoker Award, and there's the triangle right there. But yeah, I was very happy. I'm still in shock. It's over a year later.
Nuts.
I'm also the author of The Vile Thing We Created, which is right there.
That
Which
was my
is
first one from you, actually.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's by far my most popular book, which makes me happy, makes my publisher happy. And I've got
Hi.
some other things. Hello, Sochi. I hope I said your name right. Um, but yeah, I've written a lot of things. I've got a lot of things coming out. The most recent is There's Something Sinister in Center Field, which is a middle grade horror book, very much in the vein of Goosebumps. This is probably like me trying my best to do an R.L. Stine kind of vibe and impression. I met R.L. Stine, I think it was last summer.
Did you really?
I did, yeah.
That's
And
so
I will
cool.
tell you, he's very sweet. He is old, but he was very sweet as well. Oh, hello, Liz. You're here as well. But it's wonderful. We have a nice crowd already.
Hello.
But yeah, so this is me trying my best at a Goosebumps thing, and it was a lot of fun to write. It has a beautiful cover by Gemma Moore,
It does.
um, who is
I was going to
British.
ask you about the Goosebumps because of the way the cover's
Yep.
done.
Yeah, that was all her. Gemma is amazing. She's British, so I had to explain baseball to her a little bit because the closest they
Yeah.
have there is cricket.
Cricket.
But she did everything I was hoping she would do, and I gave her like a really rough sketch. I'm a terrible artist, but I did a really rough kind of sketch. I drew what a baseball diamond looks like. I drew with the outfield and stuff, and like the geography of like this particular field. And she proverbially knocked it out of the park because
It
she's a
is
genius.
awesome.
Yeah, she's really great, and it was her idea to do sort of that goosebumpsy kind of font to it. I didn't give her a lot of direction with like, hey, I would like you to do this. All my best covers have come out of like me not giving a ton of direction to
Okay.
them. Like the Vile Thing cover, I originally pictured something so different, and then the artist came out
It's
with that.
terrifying.
Yeah, oh yeah, I know. As soon as I saw it, I was like, yeesh.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, she still won't tell me where that couple came from on the cover, so that's cool. And with this one, Gemma just like showed me this as it was in progression, and I just loved it from like the second I saw her like pencil sketches before she did the watercolor.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was just over the moon with it. And Cemetery Gates, the publisher, they're just so supportive, and they were just so like cheerleading the whole time. And
They were lovely when I was emailing back and forth because of my issues with my computer. I'm like, I'm so sorry. They're like, it's
oh
fine.
no, yeah, Joe at Cemetery Gates is like he's one of the best publishers I've worked with. So I got to tell you like kind of a silly story, right? So like when I first started writing and I was like self-publishing and stuff because I didn't have the guts to submit stories anywhere or anything like that, and I just did the two collections at first. Once I started reading more and more and more, I really like my first. Some writers have like, or some authors have this idea of like, I want to write for this publisher or whatever. The only one that I thought of that I was like, I really would like to publish with them one day was Cemetery Gates. They were the only one that I was like, I really like their stuff. It would be, and they're in New York, and it would be really cool to publish with them one day. They're the only one, and now it's happened. So I'm like, that's
That's
pretty
awesome.
crazy.
You can check it off of your list.
Yeah. So I've been very lucky with everything that's happened, and the dream of getting to write a book for Cemetery Gates came true too. So
Okay. Since you left it, I have a quick question from is this going to be a series or is this one and done? Or am I allowed to know that answer?
This particular book is no, yeah, you can know. This particular one is one and done.
Okay.
Um,
Because I
you
feel
know,
like you left it
I
enough
kind of like
for it
it.
to possibly be something.
Yeah, I think the kids in There's Something Sinister in Center Field, like, I think they've earned their summer to relax. You know, like they don't need to be dealing with any more ghosts or any monsters or anything like that. It's a little different than the Sleepy Hollow gang. The Sleepy Hollow gang, those kids are built to fight spooky things
So good.
from, the other side. The kids in There's Something Sinister in Center Field are just good kids dealing with a bad
That got stuck.
scenario.
Yeah.
And I think I like to think that, like, at the end, they're closer friends, and if you read it, everybody, there's the beginnings of, like, kind of first love kind of thing in the air. And
I was gonna say that was very well done. I was like, "Uh-oh, this can either be too much or," and then it was perfectly done. I was like, "Thank
oh,
you."
thank you. No, thank you. I like writing that stuff because it reminds me of, like, how I felt in those times back in the
Yeah.
day. I like writing those first love things. I remember feeling those feelings, and I guess I thought as I got older those things would die in me, but, like, I still remember them very clearly. Like, I
Yeah.
still remember the first girl I ever had a crush on.
I do
And
I do too.
yeah,
The
see,
the
like,
the the
it's just
guy.
yeah, it's just I like dragging up those thoughts and memories and how I felt at the same age as these kids.
Yeah.
Sochi has a good question. What do you look out for in a publisher? Well, that's a good question because, like, I don't. There's certain publishers that have a good reputation and others that don't. Cemetery Gates is one that has a good reputation, so that was like an easy, I'll say yes to working with Joe at Cemetery Gates on this. Like, that's an easy, obvious yes. But you want somebody that this sounds really capitalistic or whatever, but you want somebody who's going to pay you on time. Um,
No, but it's the truth.
it is the truth, and, like, I have a day job. I am a teacher, but also at the same time, like, if people don't pay you on time, that kind of shows you who they are a little
Mhm.
bit. But, like, you want that, but also you want somebody who puts out the kind of work that you like to read. You like to find a publisher who's putting out stuff that's really interesting and daring. So, like, for example, Weird House Press they published my Sleepy Hollow Gang book, and they published my Curse of the Cob Man book. They put out such an interesting there it is. There's the Cob Man. That's the
I
craziest.
love it. This is my favorite, like, one of my favorite covers of your
Oh,
book so
thanks.
far. I love it so much.
Yeah, Michael Squid did a nice job on that. That book is bonkers. But
Yes.
yeah, that's my craziest book by far. But, like,
I don't know who
Weird
to
House,
recommend this to. It's that bonkers. I'm not sure who to
I
recommend
know
this
it's a
to.
hard it's a hard one to recommend because it's so crazy and it's so weird. But
Yeah.
Weird Weird House publishes, like, a lot of stuff that's all over the place. Like, they publish Lovecraftian kind of horror, and then they also publish crazy stuff like Cob Man, and then they publish more restrained stuff like Sleepy Hollow Gang and other books that are in their kind of like all readers line of books. So they're really cool. Cemetery Gates has put out banger after banger. They put out, I think it was last year, they put out The Briars by Stephanie Parent. That book is unbelievably
I
good.
haven't read it, but I've seen it around.
Whoa. That movie, I almost said that movie. That book is, and no joke, it is preposterously good. They have a collection out by C.W. Breyer called Sticks and Stones. That collection is insane. Probably one of the best collections I've ever read. And they put out a lot of really great stuff. But, there's different things to look for. You really want a publisher who's like, their vision matches what it is that you're doing. So if you're writing Lovecraftian stuff, you might lean a little bit closer to, like, a Weird House Press,
Yeah.
or maybe we were just talking about, I was talking to a friend of mine last night, and we were talking about this publisher. It's John Paget's publishing company. Oh, Grimscribe. So, like, Grimscribe or like Weird House Press would publish Lovecraftian type stuff. You just want to find your niche and you want to kind of vibe with them.
Since you are publishing, I wanted to ask you, before we get into the book, I wanted to ask you your thoughts on like the length of middle grade books, because that's my biggest thing. Because I have middle grade readers, I have younger siblings,
Mm-hmm.
and most of my younger siblings aren't going to read a 500-page book.
Yeah.
So it's like I appreciated that this was like 94 pages. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was the length of the books that I read when I was that age.
Yep. That's how it should be. That's how middle grade should be. It should be about, I can tell you the exact word count of There's Something Sinister in Center Field. It's like, it's between 32,000 and 35,000 words,
Okay.
which does clock in around like 90 pages. I think
Yeah.
that's the perfect amount. If you grab any Goosebumps book, they're going to be about 90 to 100 pages
Yeah.
and then call it a day. And it's not like children can't read, longer than that or anything, but really like, you
Attention
want to hit
spans.
them with the story and get out of there.
Yeah.
Like they got other things to do. So like, the Vile Thing We Created was like 420 something pages, I
Didn't
think.
feel like it was that long.
Oh,
I read it so fast.
Good.
I read it in like 24 hours.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. But yeah, like that's a longer book, but again, it's for adults, so it's different.
Yeah.
I read I just finished I what was it? Leave the World Behind. I read Leave the World Behind, which was like a huge summer hit 2 years ago, and I finally got to it. But
Was that the one that they just did a movie on Netflix for?
yeah.
Yeah.
And that book didn't feel long. I think it was like 280 pages, but I read it in like 3 hours or something.
Yeah.
Like, and I wasn't like over the moon crazy about it, but like there's something to be said for the fact that I couldn't put it down
Right.
for an evening, So
Yeah.
like I've been thinking about it more, and I was like, you know what? I think I did like it a lot more than I was giving it credit for in that moment,
I feel like we should, when it comes to rating books, I feel like we need to sit on them a little bit more, because sometimes we do that knee jerk, like, oh, I didn't like this. Oh, I didn't, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
But like, I'll put something as read and then I'll sit on it for a week and then I'll be like, if I'm still thinking about it, it's a 5-star.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. And there's been some stuff recently that I've been like, woof. And I think that again, Leave the World Behind's a good example. Like,
Yeah.
my knee jerk reaction was like, I really didn't like that, but then I still think about it. Another good question: who are your inspirations? Which books do you wish you had written? Which book do I wish I had written? Jaws. I wish I had
Really?
written. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's just there's something to be said for the book that inspired the greatest American movie of all
I've
time.
never read it.
It's not that great. Like, that's a good example of a movie being light years, like literally light years better than the book.
I remember being terrified as a child watching the movie, though.
Yeah. I'm still terrified. I mean, I live on an island, for God's
Yeah.
sake. Like, I'm still terrified. But yeah, I would say Jaws is the book I wish I had written. Who are my inspirations? I'm inspired by a lot of people, but like lately I've been really inspired by I'm always inspired by John Langan. I'm always inspired by Paul Tremblay, Lee Murray, Linda Addison. I wish I could write as beautifully as Linda Addison. She does a lot of poetry. Her poetry is just
Ooh,
heart-stoppingly good. Yeah,
you're speaking
she's
my
brilliant.
language.
You should have her on here. You should have
Okay.
Linda Addison on here. Like,
Absolutely. I'm all for poetry.
oh,
Give it to me.
yeah, she's amazing. But yeah, so it's like she's really wonderful. I wish I could have the lyricism of her writing, but I just don't. And then there's other authors that I'm really vibing with these days. I always loved Bret Easton Ellis, but I didn't love I didn't love The Shards when I started reading it. I wasn't really feeling it. And then I really, Michael Seidlinger is an author I really love. He's a friend, so that might be cheating that I'm saying him.
It's not really cheating. you just like preface. I know this person, but it's still not cheating.
Same with Charlene Ellsby. I think Charlene Ellsby is probably one of the best writers writing today. She's so amazing, and her stuff is so challenging and really gutsy and transgressive. But yeah, I love Charlene, Michael Langan, Tremblay, Michael Sisko, who's probably like the smartest guy in horror. Yeah, there's a lot of people, but those are the people I always kind of come back to. Like, there's, Michael Seidlinger's book, Anybody Home, has one of the scariest, and it's not scary because it's like, oh, it's scary because what he's writing about in the early part of that novel is very like primal in the
Okay,
fear that it sets in you. It's really good. Anybody Home's a great book, and
I'm
Charlene
writing a
L.
list.
Oh yeah,
As you're
I'll give you
talking,
guys
I'm
lists
writing a
all day.
list.
um, yeah, those are some of the people that I'm really loving these days.
And if I'm allowed to interject here, the two that like sandwich you between, because you have a little bit of both, is Grady Hendrix and Stephen Graham Jones. I sandwich you in between the two of them.
That is high praise, and I cannot thank you enough. And it's funny. Those are two of like the heavy hitter horror guys that I have not met.
I would probably pass out if I met Stephen Graham Jones. He's one of my favorites.
I would pass out too. I would pass out for both of them, but like I SGJ is just he's like a
He's
man's
so
man.
cool.
Yeah, he's just so cool. Like I would be like, so you have a pickup truck, huh? Like
Yeah,
I wouldn't know what to talk about with him because he's just so cool. I'd be like, hey, so the only good
just
Indians
horror
is one
movies.
of
He's a
the
horror
best
movie
novels.
buff.
What's that?
He's a horror movie buff. Just
Oh, big
talk
time.
about horror. Yeah, he's
Big
huge.
time.
He's huge.
Big time. And I will say to this day, like I will go to the grave saying that Stephen Graham Jones should have been the guy to write Scream 6. But
Yes!
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. I was just having this conversation with someone the other day.
Yeah, he's kind of the perfect guy to take over the writing for that franchise. Like
And he loves it to begin
yeah,
with,
I would
which
be
is
sad to not
important.
get new books from him, but if he's
Yes.
writing the Scream franchise, if they just give him the Scream franchise to write forever, I think he'd be happy and he'd be excellent at it.
Yeah. The first book from him was The Only Good Indians. And I've just gone down like a rabbit hole because he's written so much. And
His
so have you. I'm like, every time I feel like I'm like catching up, you have like 4 things coming out.
Yeah.
I'm like, stop!
That's how it
I
feels
need to
for me
catch
too.
up.
He has one of the greatest short stories of all time too, called Father Son Holy Rabbit. I've
Which one is
taught
that in?
I don't know which one that's in,
Okay.
but I will say it can be found online.
Okay.
Because it is taught in a lot of places, and it is by far probably one of the greatest horror short stories ever written. It's
He's just
if you haven't read it twice.
he's
Yeah,
so good.
I agree with that because I find myself going back to books multiple times. Like I reread The Fisherman every year. I reread oh my god, what's the Bradbury book about the kids trick or treating? Oh my
The
god,
Halloween tree?
The Halloween Tree. I
Yeah.
reread The Halloween Tree every year. I reread The Exorcist
The
frequently.
Exorcist still scares the living bejesus out of me.
Yeah, same. Same. Both
That's
of the
one movie
Henry
I could
movies.
never
So it's cool because they're two different things. Like they function as two totally different experiences, which is cool. Like you wouldn't think it was, oh, finally YouTube coming through with the notifications. I
Hi,
never get my
Shay.
YouTube notifications ever. So
And
actually that's not true.
she's a fantastic writer as well.
Oh, all right.
Shay, yeah.
Hello.
She writes horror-esque. Yeah.
Horror
I've
adjacent.
yes. They're
Okay.
fantastic. And she's also working on a cozy mystery series, if I remember
Cozy
correctly.
mysteries are awesome. Those
Thank you.
sell really well. I know that.
Since I've read a couple of your books now, and now I've gotten the chance to read your middle grade, I've noticed that music plays a huge part in all of the books that I've read from you so far. Like, is it just huge for you in general, or is it like certain songs bring back certain memories, or what is that?
Music is kind of everything to me. Music is like it's like a time machine. I hear a certain song and I
Mhm.
can go back to like, that particular moment. There's certain albums that I hear and I'm immediately transported back to like the exact certain memories
Mhm.
associated with those certain albums and stuff. Like, so here on Long Island, I'll just give you one example. Like here on Long Island, we have a bridge that goes to a certain beach, and that bridge is the Robert Moses Causeway. It's a bridge.
Yeah.
And yeah, right. You're from the Northeast, so you know. But,
I'm
like,
from right outside Philly.
right there you go.
Yep.
So I always associate the Robert Moses Bridge to Jones Beach with the album um, Relationship of Command by At the Drive-In. So anytime I hear the band At the Drive-In, I'm like, oh my god! I'm like immediately brought back. I used to have a Camaro, a T-top Camaro, so I
I
have
love
memories.
it.
I'm such an Italian Long Islander, but
That,
like
and we're coming back to that, by the way.
that's
There's
fine.
a couple. There's a couple questions I have. We're coming back to that.
I'm still like everything I write has a soundtrack. Like the Sleepy Hollow Gang had a soundtrack. There's something
Yeah,
Sinister in Center Field sort of had a soundtrack. It was more like ambient
it was
stuff and
Beastie Boys, basically.
yeah, Beastie Boys. There's a lot of Beastie Boys in there, and the Vinyl Thing has a soundtrack, and so yeah,
Yeah,
I always write with music in mind, and I use a lot of music to sort of power my scene writing in a lot of ways too. And in my first I think it was my first two collections, or it might have just been the second one. I had a QR code that took you to a Spotify playlist.
that's awesome.
Yeah. So like when the Vinyl Thing came out, I did like a track by track Twitter thread talking about
That's
all of the songs and
awesome.
stuff. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun doing that. I might do that again for like my next like really big book. Like the Vile Thing was a huge book for me.
It was amazing. I've
Thank you.
recommended that to so many people.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Please keep
So
doing
many people.
so. Yeah,
Except I do give them the caveat about the birthing scene. I'm just like, if that's an issue, don't read it, please.
yeah. One of my favorite reviews was from Erica Robin because she was pregnant when she read it, and she
Oh,
talked
jeez.
about she talked about how like I think I'm gonna have to revisit this one in a few like a year or so after I've settled after having a kid. But like I think about that because like I think that's amazing that she was gutsy enough to like keep going with it while pregnant
Yeah,
because it's such a dark story.
it's very what she was going through at the time.
Yeah, yeah. I'm still like I still think about the Vile Thing, which is weird because it's over a year old now, so I should be
It
like,
doesn't feel like it is, but it is.
yeah, it's
Like, I
weird.
feel like we just had our conversation about it, and that was last October.
Isn't that strange? It
Yeah.
and like I've literally given my agent 2 books since then. So she's got one book that's being shopped around right now, and we're about to go out on submission with a new one. So I'm gonna have
How do
2
you
books.
keep it all straight? Because
Yeah,
you write so many, and then you're also a teacher, and you also do the stuff with Spooky House Press. Like,
yeah.
how do you please teach me your ways?
Oh god. Well, the kind of sucky thing is Spooky House Presses had to be the thing that takes the back seat because
Mhm.
like we were going to publish 3 books or 3 more books or whatever, and I had to like I found a new home for one of them. I gave the rights back to the other person for their stuff, and I just don't have the time to dedicate to Spooky House anymore, which sucks. But I'm not saying like it's gone forever or anything. Like, well,
Mm-mm.
what I want to do is come back and do a full 100% charity anthology. Um, once things have quieted down for me a little more.
If you need help with that at all, I can.
I appreciate it. I'll need everybody's help because I would like because the charity that we have picked out, which I'm like kind of keeping close to the vest, is like it's a really cute charity and it's a really fun charity, and
Mhm.
like I would like them to be benefiting from
Yeah,
whatever sales there are. Like it'll be. I already have the cover. The cover's by Chad Lutsky, so it's a great cover.
that's awesome.
Yeah, and it'll be a fun charity anthology, and I think people will really like it when it finally does come together because I already have a bunch of authors who want to do it.
Yeah.
It's just the time. It's
Speaking of, she's Shay here is in a anthology of horror short stories by YouTube people.
oh, that's cool.
So I can send you a copy if you want one,
Yeah,
because
that'd be great. I'd love to
I've
read
got
that. That
it.
sounds fun. That's great.
I'm allowed to be your hype woman, Shay.
Yeah,
I'm allowed.
she agrees that it's like a time machine. It's true.
Yeah.
Like it's weird. It's weird hearing the song. I hear that All My Life song. You remember that
Mhm.
All My Life, that like
Yeah.
R&B song, and I immediately go back to like the 8th grade dance.
Yes.
Ridiculous.
But going back to this one, like when you were doing all of the Beastie Boys, I was like, that's my childhood.
Yeah.
Like my ringtone was my dad's ringtone for me back when we used to have like those ringtones
Mhm.
was No Sleep Till Brooklyn.
There you go.
That was whenever I called my dad. Yeah, so it's just Beastie Boys was like is basically my childhood. So like when you were talking about Licensed to Ill, I was like, oh my god, have we lived the same life? Jeez, this is
See,
creepy.
so like Casey in the book is a big Beastie Boys fan, and she's listening to the Beastie Boys a lot because she's not on the team. She's not on the Kingfishers, but something scary happens and they're down a player, and she has to step up and
Yes.
join the team. And she's an excellent player, but since her mom has left, let's just say
Hmm.
she's kind of lost her taste for competitive baseball in any capacity. But yeah, I just wanted her to be a cool, tough kid, and I think the riotous kind of vibe of the Beastie Boys would match her.
Yeah.
And she's a tough girl from New York. Like she has to be. She has to be a Beastie Boys fan. There was not
Yes.
like what was she gonna do? Like Incubus or something? It's 1998. Like she's not gonna be blasting Certain Shade of Green. That song has no teeth. You
No.
know, Beastie Boys have teeth. Casey's got teeth.
I
She's
also
got
appreciated that you didn't talk crap on Philadelphia being from New York
yeah,
because that yeah, there's a whole thing. People just do it on purpose. And I'm
yeah.
just like, thank you, you didn't do it. Yay.
I've the times that I've been to Philadelphia, I've always had a good time.
Philly's
And
the shit.
my second favorite baseball team is the Phillies. So like
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk smack about the Phillies ever. I will say I was at Yankee Stadium in 2009 when they beat the Phillies for the
Yeah.
World Series. I was actually there.
I was there for my 21st birthday. Not
Oh,
not the actual game, but like I was there seeing a Broadway show that day. So I was like, please don't say out loud that we're from Philadelphia because people will beat us up.
no, that's if you
I
go to
was like, I don't want to
Boston.
be beat up today.
But they so I was there for that. We were actually sitting next to Chase Utley's family.
He's absolutely he's lovely.
Yeah, I have nothing against the Phillies. I think that,
Yeah. I
second favorite
appreciate that
team.
though, because it's usually like the easy pot shot for most people from New York.
Well, you have the Philly has like literally one of the longest running, funniest comedy sitcoms is about Philadelphia. So
Yeah.
like, whatever.
Yeah.
People are crazy. That's interesting. So an interview I heard with Daniel Wiseman called Rock Noir.
I
Hmm.
like I like the name.
Yeah, that's a cool term. I like that. I've never heard that. I'll have to look that up. Twitter or TikTok for healthy distractions? I'll be honest with you, none.
Neither.
None of them. Yeah, I don't. When I'm sitting down to write and I have to get writing done, like so, for example, this weekend, um, I'm gonna try to get writing done. The second I sit down, I put my phone on Do Not Disturb,
Yeah.
and the only person who can get in touch with me is my wife. And that's it. Like I hate Twitter. Twitter hasn't been fun for
Twitter's a
like
cesspool of stupidness.
it is. And it
Like,
really it hasn't been fun since like 2008, 2009, and I hate Elon Musk. So like
yeah.
I don't want to spend a lot of time there. And TikTok, I'm not good at TikTok. I
I'm
don't
too old
understand.
for TikTok.
I think yeah, I just don't get it. Like I have a
I'm an old
TikTok,
lady.
like I'm just it doesn't vibe with me. My nephew stalks me on TikTok and I'm like, dude, I don't even have the app anymore. Like I don't know
Yeah.
what we're doing. But yeah,
It's
I if I
weird.
get distracted by any social media thing, it's usually Reddit. Like I'll go on Reddit and mess around. Like I go to my RuPaul's Drag Race Reddit, spend way too much time there.
I need to catch up. I'm so behind.
It's not great. Like last season was good. It was like a return to form. Like the mainline
Yeah.
Drag Race season was amazing, but like All Stars this year is not good. It's
Nothing will beat when I found it in college and I just binged it because I was sick for like a week and there was nothing else on TV.
yeah. I don't know. It's hard because it's like you can only do so much, and it's not that you can only do so much because there's and boundless creativity. But
Yeah.
like I said, the mainline season this past year was phenomenal. Season
It's awesome.
16,
I
16.
think so.
Yeah.
Okay, since you opened the floodgates, I'm gonna go there. We're both Italian, so I
Mhm.
appreciate the bringing up the Italian horn,
Mhm.
and because that's a must thing for most men of Italian culture,
Mhm.
and you called it sauce.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I get in a fight with my dad because he calls it gravy.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't.
So, like, one side of my family calls it sauce, the other side calls it gravy, so
I never. I hate. I think the calling it a gravy thing is a Sicilian. That's more of a
yeah.
Sicilian. Are you Sicilian or what are you?
No, my one side's from Naples, and my other side is from an area that I can't say because it's technically my last name.
You're Napolitan? I'm
Yeah.
Napolitan.
Really?
Yeah. So
Yay!
I think mainline Italy or mainland Italy calls it sauce, and I think again, like
Yeah.
I think that's a Sicilian thing
My
to
dad my
call it.
dad's side calls it gravy.
Yeah.
There's
So
that
like
constant, like, the fake argument.
I had the weirdest thing happen to me one time. Like a friend of my family, this guy is Irish, was like, "Oh, that's you shouldn't call it sauce. You got to call it gravy." I was like, "What do you know?" I was like, "Irish food tastes like gravel. What do you do? Like, you don't get to comment on food. Are you out of your mind? Like, God, ugh, the worst, the absolute worst."
But it was
So-
just like I was reading this being, like, so giddy. I'm like, "You're talking about Beastie Boys and all the Italian shit that I grew up with." I was like, "Thank you."
And so, like, even though I'm an Italian guy, I never had the horn. I never had. I did have, like I said, the Camaro.
My brothers all have the horn.
Yeah, and
Every
that's
single one of them. My dad, all of them.
yeah. I never had it. I had a lot of Italian friends who had the horn and stuff. I never had one, but um, I knew all about it. Like I had, I had a friend who was so Italian. His family had a pizza place. Like
I have a couple friends that yeah.
yeah.
It's a rite of passage
Yeah.
to a certain
And
extent.
so many friends worked in pizza places.
Yeah,
A friend's family owned a pizza. Like it was.
and no
And
one
there's
could
no
ever
better
say my
pizza.
last name correctly because of how many
Oh.
I'm just like, I'm just I don't say it because like, on the internet
Yeah, 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 of course.
kinda thing,
Yeah,
but it's just like, it's so funny because people don't believe I'm Italian because 'cause I'm fair-skinned with red hair, and I'm like, Italian people have red hair.
yeah.
Like,
Well, and there's certain
I
parts
don't
of
have the
Italy where
olive
they
skin tone like the rest of my family does, but I'm still Italian.
well, my wife's friend is married to an Italian dude, and like, literally, his mom is, like, right off the boat from
Mhm,
Italy kinda thing,
mhm.
and he's fair-skinned with
Yeah.
red hair, and literally everybody in that village is, like, fair-skinned red hair,
Yeah,
like, where
it's
they're
nuts.
from, so
Everybody's like, "No, you're not." I'm like, "Look at my last name. Yes, I am."
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's legit. And, it's funny because it's like, I was at the doctor's today and I was looking at my hands and my left arm is more tan than my right because I
Mhm.
drive with my hand out
Yeah.
the car out the
Yeah.
window or whatever, and I was like, "Wow, I'm already." Because my dad, who was Italian, he always tanned like a catcher's mitt. He always got super dark in the
Yeah.
summer,
My
and
my that's my mom and my brother. Like,
okay,
we
yeah,
look
and as I'm getting
when
older
they're completely tanned, we don't look like we're related at
yeah,
all.
there you go. Yeah.
I just stick out and I have freckles.
Yeah.
That's just like, it's a
I don't wear sunscreen. I should wear sunscreen. I don't always, but my wife is always yelling at me to wear
I
it, and
have to. I'm too fair-skinned. I'll turn into a lobster.
yeah. See, I get really dark. I get super dark, which I'll take it all day.
I'm kinda jealous. Uh, since grief, without going into too much detail, I do have a spoiler section, so if you're
Mhm.
gonna get spoiled, we're gonna get because it's a short book, there's no way to not spoil.
Yeah,
How I like how you handled grief in this because it is so hard to handle it in a way that the age group that you're writing this for would understand, but you
yeah.
did it very, very well.
Oh,
And
thank you.
it's just it's very rare to see it because it's usually they take the easy way out when it comes to grief, like the freak outs, the and it was just like she had a freak out, but it was towards the end of the book.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like it wasn't a freak out of like, "I miss my mom." It was a freak out of, "What's going on? What are you
Mhm.
doing?"
Yeah. She has to like kind of suddenly deal with things that no kid should have to deal with on
Yeah,
top of mourning her mom. Yeah, and I've never seen a kid really like have one of those Hollywood freakouts over grief. Like I've never seen that happen in real life. So like the times that I've seen kids have their kind of like meltdowns, it's always directed at something else. And
Mhm.
it's always because of something else. It's never, and they never spill their guts about what's
Completely.
actually going on, like
Yeah.
ever. I literally had a kid this year go through something so horrifying and so stressful and scary, and he had meltdowns over the dumbest little things, but like
That's
I
usually how
understood
it
why.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I wanted it to like reflect with Casey, because when she does, and it's not like it's like a little thing that's happening, it's literally a life or death thing
Yeah.
that these kids are dealing with. But it's also like that compounded on the top, on like her dad is pretty much useless in this
Yeah.
narrative, and
And that
also
she has
dealing
to
with
do a
mom.
lot more, and then he feels bad about it, and it's just
Yeah,
that's what broke my heart because I see it now as an adult.
yeah, yeah,
Like, you only see so much when you're a kid, but as an adult, you're just like, "Man, I don't know if I'd probably be in the same spot."
yeah.
Like, if it was me.
I see, like in my own students or whatever, because I teach uh, children who come here from other countries and stuff, and
Mhm.
I'm not, there's a lot of people think of like, oh, well, there's the Spanish is just Spanish, and it's like, well,
No.
that's not true at all, because Spanish that's spoken in Ecuador is different than Spanish spoken in Guatemala. Just for
Dialects are different everywhere.
absolutely, it's
Yeah.
like English is spoken, it's different all over the place,
Yeah.
and like I see my students helping other kids when I am torn in another direction. I have my like superstar kids who are like,
Mhm.
I'll go help him, I'll go help her, whatever. And like, they shouldn't have to do that. But because there's just so many kids and it's just me in the
Yeah.
classroom, I can't be everywhere at once. So then I feel heartbroken that these kids are, doing extra work that they really
Yeah.
shouldn't have to do, but they're nice enough to do it. So like when you see a kid step up to the plate like that, it's really incredible, but it also kind of breaks your heart because it's them growing up a little too fast.
Yeah. Like, you see their, like, childhood disappearing in
Yeah.
in
And
a sentence.
I'm very lucky. The kids that I teach are wonderful, and they're all working really hard, and they're all, just wonderful, wonderful, sweet kids. I don't care what it's called. Put it on my plate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah. If it's
Especially
made
with some garlic
correctly. I'm
bread.
I'm I'm kind of a stickler for someone tried to hand me store-bought meatballs, and I almost had a heart attack.
Yeah, I don't eat
I
store.
was like, "No. You don't understand. That's like a slap in the face."
Yeah. This is not gonna be good. But here, ready? Here's an Italian thing that you're not gonna agree with, maybe. I don't know.
Mhm.
We'll see.
Okay.
I legitimately like Olive Garden.
I do too!
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people are like, give me your Italian card." I'm like, "No.
Yeah. No, it's good.
I don't like it. I don't like it all the time, but every once in a
No.
while."
It's like I eat McDonald's once a month, right? If
Yeah.
if you have Olive Garden a couple times a year, it's good.
Yes.
Oh, I
And
like
I
this.
have to say they do make a really good tiramisu.
That they do, and they have a really excellent lasagna. That's what I get every
Yes,
time.
and people, because we I had this conversation. I'm sorry this is devolving, but whatever. Um, I'm not a lasagna person. Like,
Mhm.
I don't like to make it.
Mhm.
I'll make everything else under the sun. I'll make a pot of sauce, I'll make meatballs. I
Yeah.
hate making lasagna. So if someone else will make it, that's fine by me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's a pain in the butt to make.
It is. It's a lot of work, and it could go wrong. Like if it burns, it sucks. If it's
Yeah,
slightly burnt, it sucks. But
and
it's
then if the noodles aren't soft.
yeah,
That's my biggest problem. Because okay, my dad and I get in this argument all the time, al dente pasta or not. And I'm just like, "But you like it so hard that I can't even bite it." Like,
yeah,
I can't
yeah. If it's too crunchy, it's like bleh.
I can't do it.
Oh,
But
see,
it's just so funny, like, because now living where I live, when I say hoagie, people stare at me like I'm insane.
oh
Like,
well, yeah.
I'm like, "No, it's a hoagie, people. It's
See,
not
I don't call
sub."
it a hoagie, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
But you're like you're close enough that like
Adjacent.
you wouldn't look at me like I had 10 heads.
No, I'd be like, oh, I get it. You want a sub? Gotcha.
Yes. But it's so interesting because I went to school in North Jersey. I'm
Hmm.
from South Jersey, but I went to school in North Jersey,
Yeah.
and we used to get in arguments like that all the time. Like, A professor of mine, he was I have a journalism degree, so he was one of my journalism professors. And he I remember one morning we're sitting there having coffee in his class, and he was like, "Say bagel." And like he was saying how certain areas say bagel differently than other areas. And I'm just like, "What?" And he made all of us say bagel, and we all said it very differently. It was very strange.
Bagel.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
I was
just
like,
bagel. Like
yeah,
there's no other.
I'm like, it's not that complicated.
That's weird. That's like the one thing, because my wife and I are hopefully moving. That's the one thing I'll miss about Long Island is bagels and pizza.
Trust me, I moved here 4 years ago, and
Yeah.
yeah, pizza or bread down here sucks. Sucks.
I don't know what they have. Like in the time that I've spent in the South, other than like I went to where did I go? I went to Louisville, and when I was in Louisville, everything was just like fried. It was all
Yeah,
fried.
it's
Like
too
literally,
much.
I had fried bologna.
I can't. I can't eat bologna. I ate so much as a kid. I can't stand it.
I love bologna. I literally have had 2 bologna sandwiches today, but like I can't like frying it. I
Mm-mm.
don't know. Like I
I
feel
mean,
like
when I was drunk in my 20s, yeah.
sure.
Like, but not now.
No, I don't know. That's a bizarre thing. As a former French teacher, I know about the dialect issues, and the other French teacher also did ES. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there's dialects in it, like especially moving from where I grew up to here. Whew, that was a culture shock and a half.
Yeah.
Not that they're bad people. It was just things are done very differently. Like I grew up right outside Philly, so I used to walk everywhere. Here,
Hmm.
you need a car.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Here on Long Island, you need a car, but in
Yeah,
the city, you don't need a
yeah.
car at all. It's like it's weird.
It's so strange.
Ugh.
But I wanted to ask you because you do write so many different. Not you write the same genre, but you write for different. Like you write adult, you write um middle grade. Like how does your does your process change on how you write depending on what age range you're shooting for?
The process is pretty much the same. The only thing that changes is the rules. So like with YA and adult, there's really no rules. You can kind of do whatever you want. Like in a YA book, you can have cursing and violence and sex and drugs and all that stuff.
And more lately.
Yeah, and more lately. Right. Literally the like most aggressive sex scene I've ever read
It's in a YA book.
is in a YA book.
I'm like,
Yep.
why?
Yeah, it was weird. Not, I mean, whatever. Human sexuality is part of the experience, but like,
Yeah.
but reading it in a YA book just felt icky. But I get it. It has to
Yeah.
be there. But like middle
I feel
grade
like they're just putting it in there because 30-year-olds are reading it now. That's how it feels.
nowadays maybe I don't
Yeah.
know, but like the only one that has real rules is middle grade because there's no sex, no drugs, no cursing are really kind of the core things in middle grade. So you can be violent and you can be scary, but you just can't have somebody drop an F bomb
Yeah.
in there because then all of a sudden you're dealing in YA territory. So I actually just took one of my books that was written for sort of the YA and slash adult audience, and I went through it with a fine tooth comb, took out all the cursing,
Okay.
and now all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, characters smoke cigarettes and they drink. However, it's still middle grade plus low level YA, or not low level, but like younger
Like a
YA.
13-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
it could work for
cuz
that.
that's my biggest issue with YA is it's such a wide range. You go from 12 to 18 and I'm like, but a 12-year-old and an 18-year-old have different brain spaces.
Yeah,
Like it's
and
not
then
a
there's
bad thing. It's just it's okay to write younger YA for like I feel like the tweens get kind of pushed out when it comes to YA.
oh yeah, and then there's new adult, which is
Yeah.
19 to 21,
I
1920, something like that.
I hate that, but
I
that's
hate
just
that
me.
too. It's
Sorry.
stupid. It doesn't
I
make
hate
any
it.
sense. You're
I
an
hate
adult.
it.
18 and above, you're an adult. You're reading adult
You're an
books.
adult and you're dating a 25-year-old and you're 18. You're an adult.
There you
Like,
go.
stop it.
But again, like that's really the only thing that changes. I also like I do notice that if the the word count being shorter, is difficult too, because I have a tendency to overwrite some
Mhm.
parts. So in this case with There's Something Sinister in Center Field, I had a set in my mind. I was like, I want this to be at the most 35,000 words.
Yeah.
And so I knew, like, I had to break up. I had to be economical with, like, okay, well, this is the first third, second third, and then the final third,
Yeah.
and X amount of words here, X amount of words here, X amount, and I could, adjust that a little bit here and there. But there was originally, and There's Something Sinister in Center Field, I was going to write from a third perspective. Um,
Okay.
yeah,
So
I was.
it would be 3, 3, and 3 because of how it's broken up?
Yep,
Okay.
and it would have been a little, and so I did excise that eventually, and that character's development was, like, kind of left on the cutting room floor a little bit. It was one of the kids on the team, one of the other kids on the team.
Okay.
Um, but it just, I needed the word count for Danny, and I needed the word count for Casey, and that it was more important for me to tell their story than it was for me to include this third character who is still in the book.
Is it Teapot?
Uh, it's her friend, the one who she's closest to on the team, whose name I can't remember right
Oh my
now.
goodness. I know who you're talking about, and I just finished I reread the book this
He's
afternoon.
he's the he's from South America.
Gabriel.
Gabriel. It was
Yep.
Gabriel's voice that ended up getting lost, because there was going to be a lot more with him, and a lot more about, like, well, does he like Casey, or does he not like girls at all?
Yeah. And I like how that was done because it wasn't made a big deal,
Yeah.
which was nice.
Yeah, because it's not a big deal. Like, these kids,
Yeah.
like with my students, it's not a big deal. Like, they don't, that's the least of their
Yeah,
worries.
like
Like, they don't care.
whoever you're interested in, you're interested in.
Yeah.
Okay, next.
Yeah,
Like
exactly. Um, so yeah, like, that was a part that was lost. But I was very conscious to shoot for that particular amount of chapters as
yeah.
well.
I was like it's 9 because of the I was like, "Yes."
Yeah,
I love like little stuff like that. I don't know why, I just love it.
I did that again with the novel I just gave to my agent has 31 chapters.
Okay.
And what's significant about the number 31?
Are you doing months? Like the months of the year? The
It's not months, it's the amount of days. There's something
Mhm.
very important about the 31st of a particular month.
Halloween? I'm assuming?
Mhm. So,
I okay.
I wanted to have as many chapters as there are days in
I
October.
love that though.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited for that one. She really loves it, so I'm
Is it
hoping
adult or middle grade?
it's adult. Both of the
Okay.
books that she's shopping around are both for adults.
Okay. But are you gonna do another Sleepy Hollow Gang? Because it says book 1. Are you
Yeah,
doing another one?
I I really want to. It's hard though. So I wrote the first Sleepy Hollow Gang, and I wrote There's Something Sinister in Centerfield before I got an agent.
Okay.
And 31 flavors, yeah, maybe Z. That's awesome. Howard Johnson is right.
I have not thought of that in forever. Oh my
um,
that's a time warp. Woo!
yeah, for real. Back to the days when I could eat ice cream and not get sick.
Yes, same.
Yeah. God. So there was before I landed my agent, Rena Rossner at DH Literary. Um, I sold There's Something Sinister in Center Field and the Sleepy Hollow Gang to two different presses, and we originally saw, like, the Sleepy Hollow Gang as being a trilogy. And I had rough outlines for 2 and 3, and
Okay.
I started writing the second one, and I got about 100 pages in, and I rewrote the whole thing again. So I
Really?
rewrote the first 100 pages twice, and then when I got to the end of the 100 pages the second time, I was like, I don't have any passion for this particular story. Like,
Okay.
there's nothing that's really grabbing me. I do want to go back to the Sleepy Hollow Gang, because instead of it being a trilogy, just write a sequel and
Yeah.
close it all out. But, like, I kind of, and that's kind of an exercise. I guess this is something sort of going back to Sochi's question about what do you look for in a publisher. But, like, you don't want to be so hamstrung by an idea for a publisher that you have to go back to it. And
Yeah.
that's kind of how as much as I love that first Sleepy Hollow Gang book, I love those kids. I love
I
that
love it.
story. Thank you. And I love that cover. Like,
That cover, like, that it's so good.
it's a good one. I
It's
really love
so
it.
good.
It's as much as I love those kids in that story, it's hard for me to kind of want to go back to it when I've got so many other things that my
Right.
agent and I have agreed that I should be working on. Um, but that said, like, there is 100 pages written of the Sleepy Hollow Gang 2 Invasion of the Purple People Eaters. It's just not,
Stop!
yeah, it's just not there. It just wasn't. I had like a whole, there's like a whole message in there, and I'm just like,
Okay.
it might be too preachy. I
Yeah.
don't know. It just wasn't grabbing me. I introduced a few new kids
Okay.
to the group. There's like 3 new kids. Um, there's like a whole new world for these kids too. Like, everything has changed as a result of the first book. There's a lot of good tension there that I might want to go back and revisit, and I would do it with Weird House Press again because they've been good to me and
They seem awesome. Like,
they're
I get
very
their
cool.
emails all the time, and they're just like, "This is what's coming out," and everything. I'm just like, you're just adding to my TBR. This doesn't help."
Yeah. And their books are beautiful. They put out really
Yeah,
nice, volumes of work.
and they're nice to, like, I know it's gonna sound ridiculous, but they're nice to hold.
No,
Like,
that's not ridiculous. That's
because
awesome
it's a
because,
it's a huge problem. Like, there's so many books that I'm just like, "I can't even hold this. This hurts." Like,
it- there's a like there's something to be said about a publisher that like really puts the effort into their books, and Weird House
yeah.
Press certainly does that. I will tell you this. This is um there's a book coming out, a hardcover book by Nicole Wolverton that I got to blurb. Um
Ooh.
and it's called A Misfortune of Lake Monsters, and it's a young adult novel. Um let me see. I have hang on. I have like the publisher sent out a really cool bookmark for it, and the bookmark is a ticket because it involves a
Stop.
ferry.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's dope. I will.
Ah!
Everybody should definitely check out A Misfortune of Lake Monsters, and that
I'm writing it
hardcover.
down.
Like, if you go to Nicole Wolverton's Instagram, she just posted a video of the hardcover the other day. It is, in my opinion, of like indie press hardcovers, it's the nicest one I've ever seen. It's beautiful.
Indie presses are I might get in trouble for this, but indie presses are doing so much better than, like,
Some of the bigger presses.
yeah,
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
how they're putting together their books.
Well,
Like, they're not
it's
Bible thin
funny.
pages and stuff like that.
I just got this beauty in the mail. I got Paul's new book,
I know, I
and
wanna buy it so bad.
look at this. Look at this beautiful red
I
on the
know.
side. And also, I'll tell you this, this dust jacket does not feel like any other dust jacket I've ever felt on a
Really?
book. Yeah, it almost feels like plastic or vinyl or something.
I knew I was gonna buy it when I saw the cover. I was like, "Come on."
Yeah. Plus it's
Like,
Paul. You can't beat him.
no.
Can't beat him.
I've actually never read one of his books. He's on my list.
Oh my god, really?
Uh-huh. Out of all the horror people that I've read, I've never read one of his. I've always been intimidated to read his. I don't know why.
Why? Why are you intimidated?
I don't know. He's just so big. I'm like, it's like when I tell people that I don't like certain Stephen King books, and everybody's like, "Oh my god, but you're a horror reader." And I'm like, "But yeah, but other people write it too."
So Paul is physically big. He's like 6'4", but I'll tell you, like, his books are amazing for sure.
Yeah.
But like, he's amazing. Like, he's everything he puts out. There's always something really exciting in all of his stuff. Like, my favorite is Cabin at the End of the World, which was turned into a terrible movie by M. Night Shyamalan. Not actually,
Yeah.
that's not fair because the movie's good until the ending, but Paul's book is brilliant.
And it
That's
was
my
shot
favorite.
not far from my hometown.
That's true.
He always
And
shoots near my hometown, which is really weird.
which that's so cool. So like
Yeah.
that book is amazing, but also the Pallbearers Club, which
I
was his
wanna
book
read that one
before.
because that totally seems like up my alley.
Pallbearers Club has one of the scariest sequences I've ever read in a book ever.
Coming
Um,
from you, that means a lot.
it's
Wow.
crazy, and I tell him all the time, like, he's been very kind and supportive to me. Um, I like that quote. It'll come back when it's ready. It's telling you it's not ready. I
Yeah.
think that's definitely
Don't
the
push it.
case. Yeah, and I felt like I was forcing it when I was
Yeah.
writing it. This wasn't working. But um the Pallbearers Club is funny. It's dark. It's creepy. The ending is excellent. Um Pallbearers Club for me, if you were going to start with
Mhm.
him, I would say start with Pallbearers Club or Cabin at the End of the World.
Okay, those were the 2 that I'm the most interested in.
Look, like I guess probably his most famous book is still Head Full of Ghosts.
Yeah.
Um which is excellent. I mean, everything that I've
Yeah.
read by him is
I
good.
just I'm one of those people that, like, when it involves ghosts, because I live in the middle of the woods, I have to, like, read it in the daytime.
Well, Head Full of Ghosts doesn't really involve ghosts.
Okay.
But it's very good. It's very and he's a really nice guy. He's one of
He seems great.
when you think of like, oh, the big famous horror authors or whatever, like he's worth supporting because he's a really good guy and just very nice and very, very kind and
And he always
supportive.
gets blurbed by Stephen Graham Jones, so
They're besties.
I
Yeah.
know, it's kinda really cute.
Yeah. I think he puts I can't remember which one of them put the other one in a book. I think it was Paul put Stephen Graham Jones in Head Full of Ghosts as a
Did he?
math
Okay.
tutor. Yeah,
Okay.
he made him like a math tutor or something. I
That's
can't remember.
awesome.
But yeah, they're cool as hell. Like and again, like I've never met SGJ, but he just seems like the
People
coolest guy.
my friend was telling me that I should try to get him on an interview, and I'm like, "I don't think I could talk." I'd be
You
like, "But
know,
I love everything you write, and I'm gonna turn into a psycho right now."
it would be like the Chris Farley interviews from
Yeah.
SNL when he was like,
Mhm.
"Remember when you were in the Beatles? That was cool."
Yeah. I would just be like, "I cannot write as well as you." I still haven't finished his trilogy because I don't want it to be over.
Yeah.
I
Well,
was sent a copy, but I don't wanna finish it.
there's like I think about stuff like that too, like who do
It's
I
so
want to
good that I don't
write?
wanna finish it.
Yeah, and also I want to be as good as that person one day. Like I always think of John Langan as that person to me. Like I want to be as good as him one
Okay.
day. But also like I can't be John Langan because I'm not
Yeah.
John Langan. You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
best that I could do is just do what I do and like hope for the best and hope people like it. So
Yeah.
like even when I read like a negative review of something I've written, I'm always like, all right, well, I appreciate that they tried to like it and that
Yeah.
they gave it a chance. Like I never get like upset that somebody doesn't like something of mine because
Yeah.
not everything is for everybody.
Like, people got upset when I put in my interview the trigger warning for, the vile thing we created. And I'm like, "I put the trigger warning for people that's a trigger for." Like,
Sure.
I talked to the author, he's fine with it. Why are
Yeah.
you having your, like, panties in a wad? Like, I
Yeah.
don't understand. Like, he's okay with it, leave me alone.
Yeah, like I there's a lot of people who are like, "Oh, I don't like trigger warnings." And it's like, "Well, look, like they're not for you. They don't have to be for you.
No.
Like some people need them, other people don't." Do I personally need trigger warnings? No. But
Mm-mm.
am I one of the first people to check does the dog die when a dog pops up in a
Thank
movie?
you.
You damn
Yes.
right I do.
Yes.
Like I don't want to see a cat get killed. I don't want to see a dog get killed. Does it
Yeah.
happen all the time? Of course it does. But,
Yeah.
it's
Or
that's
at
the
least I
thing.
wanna know, like, I recommended it to someone, but I did warn them about the birthing scene. I'm like, "I know you don't have kids, but this is in it if it's an issue for you."
Yeah.
And she was like, "Thank you." Like, she ended up giving it, like, I think 4.5 stars. She's
Oh,
like,
that's
"It's
awesome.
awesome, but thank you for giving me the heads up."
Yeah, no, I think that stuff like that's important.
Yeah,
People, if certain things are going to upset people, they should know what's in that book.
right.
I don't feel, and I said this to editors or whatever, specifically like when I'm in an anthology or whatever, and they do trigger warnings. They ask like sometimes they'll ask like, "Oh, can you put a list of
A
triggers or
page.
whatever?"
Mhm.
Yeah, and I'm like, and I kind of always tell the editor like, "Hey, man, like I don't or whoever." I don't really feel comfortable doing that myself because I don't know what's gonna upset somebody. So, like,
Yeah.
can you do that? And they do it, no problem.
That's why I don't like, unless it's a real glaring thing, I don't put one because
Yeah,
you don't know. Like, that's why I like, Storygraph. It's a alternative to Goodreads because they put the trigger warnings in there for you.
That's great.
When you write a review, they're like, and it comes. You don't even have to put it in there. They just put it in there for other people that are reading the reviews.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Z has a cool comment here. Let's read the
Whoops.
Tremblay and Roberts book too. I can get permission if it's for book club. Yeah, let's
Yeah.
do that.
Please.
I would say, yeah, read whatever of mine you want, but I would recommend anything by Paul.
Please.
Yeah,
I'm
like I say, start with Cabin at the End of the World. I
okay.
think is the way to
I
go.
I don't want the movie tie-in cover, even though my friend was an extra in the movie. I don't want it. I hate movie tie-in covers. I'm sorry.
I don't like that movie tie-in cover either.
No.
There's
I don't like it.
the Titan. I think it's the Titan cover. The UK cover is the coolest one because it has the weapons that the 4 people make on the cover hanging off the cabin.
That's so cool.
It looks sick. That's
Yeah.
if you know, and again, that is the UK cover, but you just go to amazon.co.uk and you could probably get it.
Or what's the other one that I order from? It's
Waterstones?
Waterstones, and then there's one. What is it called? My goodness. Is it Blackwell's?
Oh, okay.
Blackwell's does it too.
I think
Because Blackwell's
Titan-
has free US shipping. That's why I got a
Oh,
lot of stuff through them, because
awesome.
the UK shipping is a pain in the butt.
Titan always has cool covers, but the covers that they've done specifically for Cabin at the End of the World, I think, are like second to none, personally.
I will be definitely checking that out, but I'm totally down to do a absolutely. I'm in.
Awesome. Heck yeah.
You don't have to ask me twice.
And this will be your first Tremblay book, and that's
Yes.
that's huge.
Yeah. Yeah. He seems great. I'm just like intimidated. Because, like, when you, I don't want to say you meet someone, but you like watch interviews and you're like, you seem awesome, but I don't want to read your book and hate it because you're so
Oh,
awesome.
Yeah. I'm I don't think you're not gonna hate it. He's Paul
Yeah.
Tremblay. He's like the biggest. Him and SGJ are like the biggest horror writers after Stephen King. So like,
Yeah.
you're not gonna hate it.
And
Like there's a reason he's as good as he is. It's his stuff's awesome.
an unpopular opinion, I like 11/22/63 over any of his horror books.
I a lot of people love that book.
I don't like his horror. That might get me thrown off the internet, but who knows?
I've only read 2 Stephen King books, and one of them was Thinner, and the other one was On Writing.
Yeah.
So I haven't read the full breadth of Stephen King, even though my mom, like, she's literally given me all the first editions because she bought them all when they all came out.
That's awesome.
Like, I have them on my shelves and stuff now. I've met him. I've talked to him. Like, and
It is a huge no for me. I can't do it.
it's I can tell you,
No.
like, Thinner, people like might regard that as like a lesser because it's a Bachman book originally, but that book's terrifying. Like
Yeah.
like I read them, and I read that during COVID, and I was like, Jesus.
That's when I went down my horror, because before 2020 I've never read horror, and then
Okay.
when like COVID hit, it was just like, for some reason the horror worked with my brain because I was trying to like not think about stuff.
Yeah.
I was just like, that's where I found Grady Hendrix. That's where I found SGJ. And my first Grady Hendrix was the Vampire Book Club one.
Oh yeah, the
Southern
Southern Book Club's Guide to Vampires or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's another one. I hate to say it this way because it's such a stereotype, but it's the truth. You and him write women the best,
Oh.
because like you don't do that stereotype women crap that I can't stand that most men write. I hate it. I'm just like, sir, have you ever talked to a woman? We don't talk like this.
I think too, because like I forget who it was. It was it was a pretty famous writer. They were talking like, oh, you're a male author who writes women really well. How do you do it? And he was like, they're just people.
Yeah.
Like women and men are just people. We're all the same. Like we so like making them anything or whatever is whatever.
If you ever want to laugh, look up the Twitter account Men Writing Women.
I'm on the Men Writing Women Reddit all the time. My goal
It's my favorite thing.
my goal is to never end up there.
You're not. You won't. Trust me, you won't.
Thank you,
But
God. Like, especially in writing, there's something sinister in center field. Writing a teenage girl like Casey, like I didn't want to write her in a cheesy, like Disney or
you
whatever
wrote her
kind
like
of
a
way.
tomboy, like most of us were.
Yeah,
Like,
like she was the girl that like I knew
yeah,
growing up. Like all my female identifying friends were pretty much all like her. They played sports. They
yeah,
were fun and silly. They hung out with the guys, and it wasn't like dude broy or anything. It was just
yeah. I
that's
grew up
who
in a
they
family
were.
full of
Like it
Italian
wasn't a big
boys. Of
deal that
course,
they
I'm
hung
gonna
out
do
with guys.
stuff. Like I grew up in. I'm one.
Right.
I'm one of 6, and I grew up in a family full of boys. Like,
Yeah.
of course, I'm gonna run around like outside and stuff.
Yeah. Like, yeah, we're gonna hang out and jump on the trampoline and go on the slip and slide and eat pizza and
Yeah.
watch a scary movie in the basement. Like that's
And
what
my best
we
friend to this day is someone that I met when I was 20, and he's a man. Like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah. It's weird to think like, when I read something and somebody's writing from a perspective that's not theirs and they write something that feels very like, oh, you've watched a lot of movies with
yeah,
characters like this, as opposed to like, oh, you've lived with characters like this. You could see the difference. There's like,
yeah, definitely.
I feel lucky I had a great childhood. And I think, there's something sinister in center field is a love letter to my childhood. It's a love letter to the 1998 New York Yankees. But more importantly, it really is like a love letter to my dad because,
That's why I loved your inscription to your dad in the beginning. I was
oh,
like,
thank you.
oh,
Yeah.
I'm like, you can't make me cry on the first page. This is not fair. This is not fair.
He's in everything that I write. Like every book that I write is dedicated to him.
That's awesome.
And
I love it.
it just he didn't get to see me start writing really or
Yeah.
anything. And he didn't see me find my stride as a teacher, which I think I finally hit this year, which is
Yay!
crazy to think about. Like it took 7 years of teaching for me to finally find the lane that I love. But now that I'm here, I don't want to go anywhere. I want to
It
do
took
it
my
for the
mom a
remaining.
while too.
What's
My
that?
mom my mom used to be she used to be a one like an aide in a I don't know if they would call it the same in your school district, but a occupational therapy program.
Yeah.
The kids with special needs.
Yep.
Yeah. She was a aide slash teacher in those classrooms for a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We I don't have any students with disabilities. We have our like a similar kind of thing, like an occupational therapy wing of our school. But we so like everything I write is very much tinged with him. I have a picture of him here on my writing desk, like right there.
That's awesome.
So he's
That's
always
like my grandfather. I have a picture of him
yeah.
over there.
Yeah,
He
that's
died
what's
he died
important.
when I was a teenager, so, like,
Okay.
he never got to see me be as an adult.
Yeah. There's I'll tease this a little bit. I haven't talked about this anywhere, but like there's a project that I'm hoping to start once my wife and I are settled after this
Mhm.
summer. That's very much it's going to be very difficult to write because it's a lot of my dad and it's
Yeah.
also a friend of mine's dad who is
Those are
also
usually the best books, though, with the ones that are
yeah.
hard to write.
Yeah. So that's going to be a lot of like opening a vein
Mhm.
kind of thing, which I did that with the Vile Thing to some extent because there was a lot of like emotional weightlifting that I did with the Vile Thing, whereas this is also a lot of emotional weightlifting.
Yeah.
Um, and I had a conversation with my friend about the project, and she's like, I love the idea of you calling it a love letter to our dads kind
That's
of
awesome.
thing. And I was like, yeah, that's how it has to be.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's just like, because my even though my brothers did baseball,
Hmm.
I grew up around a hockey family. We all do
Yeah.
hockey. I didn't do hockey because of my disability and stuff, but
Hmm.
my whole entire family does hockey.
Yeah.
So, I kind of understood it in the same sense of, like, it's a different sport, but it's the same idea. Like,
Yeah. It's
Every
sports is
single week,
sports. It's
every
always
single
sports.
weekend is still hockey. You know,
Yeah.
like me, it's never changed. It's
Yeah. I played football. I played basketball first, and then I played football. Um, but my friends and I always played softball and baseball
yeah,
together. Like that's the sport my friends and I probably played more than any other. Because they were, again, some of them played hockey, some of us played football, some of us played baseball, but like we all came together for baseball and softball.
yeah.
So it was always a much bigger thing for us.
I picked the more expensive sports. I did horseback riding for a very long time.
Well, there you go.
Competitive horseback riding.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah,
To
hence
be
why I
fair,
don't do it anymore, but I
to be
love it.
fair, hockey is expensive too.
Hockey's stupid expensive.
Yeah, a good stick is a lot of money.
Yeah.
But
Any
yeah,
sports, especially if you have kids, it's just like,
which I'm glad I don't. But
yeah.
I think I think parents reading this book would probably connect to the idea of like seeing their kids play and stuff too, because the Casey's dad is the coach of the team,
My dad
and
was
he's
my brother's coach for everything. So
yeah. So
yeah,
there you go.
that was another one. I was like, this is like my life. Holy crap.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think there's a little something for everybody in this book, and like if you don't usually read horror, or if you want to give something I write a chance, this is the one. This is
Yeah.
a nice little gateway entry into my weird, ridiculous brand of absurd horror. I wouldn't say go right to the vile thing after this
No.
one. I,
I mean, I don't regret that being my first
yeah,
one, but I don't recommend you going right from the middle grade to that.
no, that's a dramatically different experience. I would say, if you're interested in There's Something Sinister in Centerfield, I hope you give it a chance. I'm very proud of this book. I'm very proud to be writing a book for Cemetery Gates. Proud to have a book with a cover by Gemma Moore, and it means a lot to write for the kids that are the age of the kids that I teach
Yeah.
too, which is kind of cool.
And you wrote appropriately for that age
Thank you.
range.
That's all I
Because
want to do. I
that's
just
a
want,
huge thing. Like,
yeah,
because I have younger brothers, and it's so hard to find books that they'll like that aren't like the Babysitter's Club.
right.
Not that anything's wrong with them reading the Babysitter's Club, but there's not many books written for that age range that are targeted for boys
Yep.
specifically,
Yeah,
and
it's
it's so
true.
hard.
Even YA doesn't
Yeah,
specifically target boys.
yeah. Like I have such a hard time because my little brother has a higher reading level, but he's not at the age where some of the books that I would hand to someone, like, you know what I mean? It's just like
Yeah.
that would lead to too many conversations.
With when I wrote The Triangle, I always wanted to do a female identifying protagonist. There it is.
I love this cover.
Thank you. Wait until well, did you see the new one? The new
No, I have not. I
on
didn't even
the
know it was getting re-released until you
yeah.
told me.
I'm super excited that it's going to be re-released. It's so that is coming out, and it's going to have the second book packed in with it, which is cool. Yeah, the deep will
Yeah,
be with it. There it is.
I have these two.
And there's Nocturnal Creatures, which hopefully will be finding a new home soon. But yeah, so
So this is technically out of print.
that's out of print. All three of them are out of print.
I got them for really cheap.
Good, good. I'm glad you got them really cheap. That's awesome.
I wanted to ask you a question, and might sound random, but do you get offended if someone like says, "Oh, I found your book at a used bookstore"?
No, I don't
Because
care.
there's so many like authors that I talk to sometimes, and they're just like, "I won't sign it if it's from a used bookstore." And I'm just like, "Really?
That's weird.
Why?
Yeah, no,
If
I don't
someone
care.
enjoyed your book, who cares?"
Yeah, if as long as you enjoy it, like if you buy, so like let's say There's Something Sinister in Centerfield just came out, and it's like I think it's $12.99, which I think is cheap. But like if you were to
Nowadays,
find
yes.
that, what's that?
Nowadays, yes.
Yeah,
These
like
books
and
are
if
so
you
expensive.
found that at like I don't know, if somebody did like a little free library and had the book in there, and that's how you discovered the book, like cool, you just read it for free, like that's awesome. And
Yeah,
like if you feel like writing a review, I will of course appreciate it. The more reviews, the better.
my
That's,
review hasn't been written yet, but
yeah,
I
yeah,
have it
no,
written
like
down.
I appreciate it. I don't care if somebody were to come up to me at like so like I don't do like a ton of like conventions or anything, but like if I was at a convention, like I'm going to be at a few in October, if someone came up to me and was like, "Hey, I have the old out of print version of the Triangle. I know the new one is out." Like, why
Would you?
wouldn't
Yeah,
like why wouldn't I sign that? I think that's I will say this. Any author who feels that way, like, "Oh, I'm not going to sign it if it's a used book," you're an asshole.
yeah.
Like, I don't mean to offend your
No, it's the
previous guest,
truth.
who
When
said
I
that,
heard
but
that
like,
when I heard that in an interview, like, it wasn't with an interview with me, I was like, "I'm officially not reading any of your books." Like,
that would turn me off too.
yeah, I was like,
You
"I'm
know,
done."
there's been like a couple weird stories that I've heard about authors saying things or having like weird opinions on like you know ebooks, whatever
Yeah,
paperback.
and the other one that pisses me off is audiobooks aren't reading.
Audiobooks are reading. Like
Like,
everybody,
ugh.
I sometimes wish people would say, and this is why I don't go on Twitter because it's just a cesspool of bad opinion.
Right. That's why I slide on and then I put up what I need to put up and I pop right off. I'm just like, "Nope."
It's like never-ending bad takes, and
Yes. And
to
cyclical
me,
bad takes.
yeah.
It keeps
Oh,
on
without a
just
doubt.
going in a circle.
And it's just weird. I don't know. I would be honestly, I would be honored if somebody brought up a used book of mine. Like I really wouldn't care. That would never bother me in a million years.
Yeah.
I would
Like,
be. I would think it's sweet that they bought it to begin with.
yeah, I remember watching an interview with I think it was Neil Gaiman,
Hmm.
who said that he was doing a joint signing with an author who yelled at a lady for giving him a library copy to sign. And so she went over and bought his book and had Neil Gaiman sign it because the other guy was being like an a-hole.
Wow.
Like, I was just like, why?
My God. I so Ramsey Campbell is like one of the biggest horror authors ever.
Hmm.
Um, and he's amazing. And he's an older gentleman. He's been writing for a long time. But his stuff is amazing. He lives in the UK. He doesn't really come to the States very often. So my opportunities to get an autographed book by Ramsey Campbell are slim to none unless he comes to New York by some miracle. Um, or like comes to StokerCon or something, and I happen to
Yeah,
go.
that's basically why I buy Stephen Graham Jones books from his local bookstore in Colorado because he
Yeah,
doesn't come to this area in the world.
yeah.
Like,
So like with Ramsey Campbell, I found a used book of his that was autographed that he autographed back in like 1988, and
awesome.
it was signed to Roberta, and I'm Robert. So how could I not buy this?
I would.
And
It doesn't bother me if it's signed to someone else.
No, and I told him about it, and I was like, I just want to say, like, I bought this. I don't know if I'm ever going to get the opportunity and honor to meet you, but I had to buy this, even though it says Roberta. My name is Robert, and he's like, I think that's wonderful.
That's awesome.
Like, it's awesome, and I have it on my shelf over here. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Like,
cool.
and it's so hard, especially with like, because I read a lot of fantasy. Some of the fantasy books like this are like out of print, so like
Yeah,
secondhand's the only way you can find it.
yeah.
So like, I don't know. I just find it interesting when like authors get their panties in a wad. I'm just like, it's someone's still reading your book. Be happy.
I had
Like, I don't understand.
I know I don't talk to this person anymore because they're just a schmuck, but there was an author. I bought his book, and I brought it to him to sign. And when I brought it, he was like, "Oh, where did you buy that from?" And I was like, "I think I got it on Amazon or whatever." And he's like, "Oh," he's like, "I wish you would have bought it here. I make more money."
See, that's I don't like that at all. And I'm just like,
No,
you just turned me off for the rest of my life.
I'll never talk to this person again, and I'll never buy another book by this person.
No.
It's gross. That kind of attitude is gross. And I know, like, there's a lot of people who this is their only source of income, kind of thing. Like
Mhm.
this is their full time job.
Right.
Being an author and stuff. And I get it. And I'll go out of my way to support those people. I'll buy a book directly from them or whatever. But
Yeah.
like, if it's just if I happen to be at a show and a publisher is there and they have a bunch of books out and I'm like, oh, this one looks cool. Like I'll buy it direct from the publisher when I can. But like,
With
more
how
often than
expensive
not,
books are nowadays, you kind of have to
yeah,
be
like
you have to be choosy,
yeah,
so
and
to
not
speak.
and I can't help that often Amazon is the cheapest and Amazon is the fastest.
And
So,
Amazon, especially like I feel like with certain people, you can't be upset because sometimes Amazon's the only place people can get books in certain areas. Like here, it's hard to buy books.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
because I live in the middle of nowhere.
I don't have any independent bookstores on Long
Right.
Island.
There's not like if I purchase like twice a year from my I say local, but like it was local when I lived back at home. Like
Mm-hmm.
twice a year I purchase from them because I genuinely like them as a bookstore. But like there's no independent bookstores around here. There's secondhand bookstores, but that's it.
Yeah. And what are you going to find in a secondhand bookstore? Dean Koontz, Stephen King, and a bunch of fantasy books.
A lot of Stephen King.
Which is
A
fine. Like
lot.
Dean Koontz and Stephen King go nuts, but like,
Yeah.
you're not going to
It's
find.
all writers of a certain age.
Yeah.
Not trying to be ageist or anything.
Yeah. No, it's fine. It is, but that's true, and it's going to be a lot of history stuff. Like here on Long Island, at like a used bookstore, you're literally going to see like, oh, here's a bunch of photography books, and here's a bunch of nature books, and
Right.
here's, like science fiction and Stephen King. And it's like, all right, like I have all this stuff.
Yeah, I already own it.
Like there's only so much.
But I don't want to keep you too long because I know you
Yeah.
just got done with the school year and you kind of want to
Eat some
decompress.
pizza with the wife. She just came home with a pizza, so.
Yes. But thank you so much. And I'm hoping once I finish these, you'll come back on and we can talk about them.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with because August 2nd is when the re-release of the Triangle comes out that has the Triangle and the Deep together in one
Okay.
package.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
and we
can't
can
wait.
talk about it. I'll talk about Nocturnal Creatures. I love that novel. I don't think
It's shorter than I was expecting it to be.
Oh,
It was
yeah,
a lot.
yeah. That one has been reworked, and it's going to
Okay.
be presented in a new format, I think. So
I will
we'll
purchase
see.
both.
Well, come on. You do a lot, so I appreciate it. But thank you again for having me. I'm so glad you
Thank
enjoyed
you
There's
so
Something
much.
Sinister in Center Field. Like, I hope people check it out. It was a fun book to write.
And everywhere to purchase it is linked down below. All your podcasts are also linked down below.
Oh, fabulous.
Everything that I could possibly find with you in it is linked down below. So if
Excellent.
you're not
Thank you.
following, everything's down there.
Thank you. I do
except
appreciate it.
except your Instagram because I wasn't sure because you made it private. I wasn't 100% sure if you.
That's fine. If
Yeah.
if your wonderful viewers want to follow me on Instagram, they can. That's fine.
Okay.
As long as they're not my creepy students. Weirdos.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for everybody watching as we're doing it live, and thank you for everybody watching on the replay. And I will be posting a video next week. Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye. Let's see if it'll end.